of October 2024, as Kishore walked onto the center stage in the opulently decorated veterinary college ground in Patna to formally launch his Jan Swaraj party, he had a sense of purpose around him. This purpose was emphasized as a need to transform the politics of Bihar. This purpose was indicated as the purpose to transform the voters of Bihar, at least by urging them to think differently about representative democracy. Essentially, the appeal was to rise above the kinship identities, rise above caste, and think about issues like jobs, education, health, etc. PK's, or PK as Prashant is generally popularly known as, his recent call for transformation of politics in Bihar comes at a time when the voters in Bihar have witnessed more than 3 decades of rule between the leadership of Lalu Yadav and Nitish Kumar. While RJD, led by Lalu Yadav, has clearly settled the question of political succession for Yadav in the form of Tejasvi Yadav, who has now provided his leadership skills by leading RJD in the 2020 Assembly elections and 2024 Lok Sabha elections. The party still faces allegations of promoting a culture of dynasticism and also the threats of misgovernance. The JDU, which is the Janata Dal United, on the other hand, is still hovering around the personality of Nitish Kumar and has not yet found a leadership or a replacement leadership that has a pan-Bihar appeal like Nitish Kumar. A seemingly emergent void of leadership in this case is what PK wants to target by throwing his ring in the hat at this most opportune time. His vehement narratives of very sharp criticism are also very personally targeted towards Nitish Kumar, which is for his age, for his inefficiency, for losing his grip on matters of administration and governance, and his rapidly declining health as well as popularity. To say a downfall from Sushashin Babu to Singhasan Babu. And towards Tejasvi Yadav as an uneducated and ninth-pass leader who has a non-serious attitude towards education. And therefore is not very competitive. In this article, I will try to dissect the appeal of PK's transformative politics by focusing on the on-ground campaign of the Jan Swaraj party in Bihar. Such an analysis will also help us in understanding what kind of transformation is actually being promised by Jan Swaraj, and it will also help us in establishing the difference between PK's promises and that of those who have come before him, forming several new and small political parties in Bihar. One of the largest, and why I say this is a new kid on the block, because several new other new parties have been emerging in Bihar in the last few years, some of which I also closely studied, like the VIP, which is the Vikashil Insan Party, the Rashtriya Lok Sabha Party or the Lok Janshakti Party, Hindustan Awam Morcha led by Jitan Ram Majhi. The structural difference between Jan Swaraj and these parties is that PK or Jan Swaraj is not catering to a single caste identity and is therefore aiming for a broader coalition of voters from among the Dalits, extremely backward castes, the Muslims, and also from the upper caste and the middle classes. Even if Bihar is one of India's least urbanized states, after an improvement in law and order and good governance model of Nitish Kumar, especially in the first 2 terms, there has been an uptick in the middle class numbers and in affluent classes who are not the traditional elites in rural and peri-urban areas or in the district towns. With better connectivity to an improved network of roads, there has been more communication and an increased exchange of ideas via social media and mass media among different regions in Bihar. Using his extensive Padyatra across the length and breadth of Bihar, PK has been able to use his own credibility and his own image as a kind of a success in different roles as a technocrat working in public health in the United Nations and then as perhaps India's most celebrated political strategist consultant. Anuradha Sajjanhar, in her new book on the new experts and techno-populism, also highlights such kind of a technocratic discourse that argues that it is those outside the threats of a corrupt politics and stagnant bureaucracy who know best. PK's entry into politics can also be seen as an example of such kind of a technocratic discourse. Using the adage that nothing succeeds like success, PK's team, which is an army of professionally trained young men and women with varying degrees and levels of education, have meticulously been visiting panchayats of each and every assembly constituency in Bihar for the past 2 years. and they have used the brand value that PK has built for himself. Although this is the claim that the outreach has been to each and every panchayat. The information on PK's website, Jansuraj website, actually says that out of the 8,000 panchayats, the Padyatra or the Muhim has Jan Suraj Vahini, that's the outreach, kind of a Sangathan outreach. They have only covered about 1,300 panchayats till now. The Padyatra, which was one of the key features of PK's mobilization strategy, was itself preceded by a carefully orchestrated pre-Padyatra phase, portraying the image of PK as a leader and thinker through initiatives like Youth Ki Awaaz and Baat Bihar Ki. Although it was very interesting that the symbolism of Gandhi was hard to miss in that entire Padyatra, because it started from Paschim Champaran and Gandhi was on the image or the logo of Jansuraj for that entire duration of the Padyatra. And as soon as Jansuraj became the party, Ambedkar and Gandhi came together on that logo. So the symbolic effects are also there. A key focus of the mobilization was directed towards youth, women and social media creators. The PK Youth Club, established at the panchayat level, has been initiated in thousands of panchayat already, and each club has about 100 members, which are monitored by a dedicated team. Through these clubs, young people are actively involved in the Jan Suraj movement, while also keeping them engaged by hosting cultural events and sports tournaments. Additionally, more than 25,000 young men and women from Bihar have received training in content creation and YouTube program creation under a dedicated campaign by Jan Suraj, ensuring the party's vibrant social media presence, especially among the youth. So this actually brings me to this idea that was floated by Manindranath Thakur from JNU. He talked about Charcha, Parcha and Kharcha as being the integral components of election mobilization, and how PK is actually trying to use this kind of Charcha and Parcha. And of course there is a lot of funds which are enabling the Jan Suraj Foundation to create that kind of Charcha and Parcha. Extending educational scholarship for female students to cover their college education under the Jan Suraj Medha Chhatravritti scheme has also been one of the ways of reaching out to young women voters. Remember, women are also the kind of constituency which was earlier actually tapped successfully by Nitish Kumar, and his Mukhyamantri Cycle Vitran Yojana was a very big success, and in fact in 2005 and 2010, young women, riding the bicycles and going to schools and, was the kind of picture of the progress of Bihar, or Sushashin Babu's kind of change, right, transformation in Bihar. So definitely PK is also trying to use the targeting of young, targeting targeted delivery of schemes to young women voters. This point is important to highlight that as a transformation in the education sector of the state is one of the most important plans floated by PK. The main emphasis, according to Prashad Kishore, is on 3 P's. Padhai for children below 15 years of age, Punji, which is capital, for people between 15 to 45 years of age, and pension up to ₹2,000 rupees for the elderly. And this is the claim that this is the promise of delivery, the technocratic delivery which PK will ensure once Jan Suraj comes to power in 2025. The Jan Suraj team has also focused on cadre formation and on-ground mobilization in a very systematic way for identifying and recruiting stakeholders and influential members of the different communities at the panchayat level, like social activists, teachers, influencers, mukhya, ward members. A very decentralized structure of party committee were formed at every panchayat level and block level and at the district level. When I did an online search of the party karyalayas, at least I could find the karyalaya addresses are very neatly noted on the website. And in some of the more remote blocks that I have been to, I could find that there is a party karyalaya. Now, of course, whether these karyalayas are just offices and are they actually populated with party workers or not is something that will probably be revealed over the course of the next few months. The professionalization and corporatization of streamlining operations and authority that PK brought from his previous experiences with IPAC, some of whose members might be present in the audience, is something which has been hitherto unseen in the electoral fields of Bihar, where political parties are used to mobilize voters either on identity or ideology, sometimes both, or even none for that matter. The technocratic appeal of the Jan Swaraj Party, which is foregrounded on PK's success, is enigmatic and aspirational. Somebody said hope and aspiration. Is enigmatic and aspirational in equal measure. A similar point is conveyed by presence of a litany of former civil servants and retired bureaucrats who shared the center stage at the Patna veterinary grounds with PK on the inauguration day. The choice of retired IFS officer on Manoj Bharti as the first working president of the party is indicative of the emphasis on technocracy. However, the fact that Bharti happens to be a Dalit, as PK mentioned in his inaugural speech, clearly suggests that the technocratic emphasis also needs an undertone of identity. Even though in his media interactions, Kishore tries to cover the identity part over the narrative of Kabiliyat, or in his words, in other words, basically capabilities over caste identity. In a polity of a state which is resource poor, a movement like Jan Swaraj, which exudes a certain professionalization of party organization structure and an emphasis on technocracy, it is important to highlight that what makes PK's call for transformation of politics is not only his ability to run a highly corporatized and decentralized professional party organization which does ground level mobilization and research with equal deftness, or his ability to showcase his own success to point an aspirational image among the youth of Bihar, but also his ability to channelize and pool resources for running such an elaborate campaign. This is also very different from organic mobilizations done on the ground by Rashtriya Janata Dal or CPIML parties whose supporters come to their rallies packing their own sattu and gur, traversing long journeys even on foot sometimes. This is not to romanticize an RJD or CPIML supporter against someone who is influenced by the Jan Swaraj movement, but to contextualize different kinds of mobilization happening in a state like Bihar. There was one rally in which I attended in 2024 election, Lok Sabha election in Bihar, and I was on a stage by the Mahagathbandhan and RJD, and the stage was, actually put up by ordinary workers, and it was so weak that it was actually shaking, and any kind of a mishap could have happened. And it took me back to the very professionally organized BJP rallies, which has 3 stages. One for the external visitors, one for the candidate and Prime Minister Modi or the dignitary, and one for MPs. So, I mean, that kind of professionalization and organic campaigning definitely are very different. Yeah, just a second. This is the last one. So this is not to romanticize that kind of politics either, right? But for a long period of time, the common saying in Bihar went that Vikas nahi, samman chahiye. We don't want development, we want dignity. As pointed out by anthropologist Jeffrey Witso, this period was immediately succeeded by a period in which politics of development and good governance was the key electoral discourse. A journey between Swabhiman and Susashan was an important transformative journey for the polity in Bihar. But sadly, that has not yet reached a destination. The big question emerging for observers of politics in Bihar will be that whether PK and Jan Swaraj, their call for transformation in politics, will it finally offer that destination of a post-Swabhiman phase in the politics of the state. It will also be interesting to see whether the separation between the civil society and political society's engagements and negotiations continue to persist in the post-colonial state, or as PK claims, is there a possibility for the modern corporate class to emerge or to engage in political society in order to expand civic participation for this class? I will end it here and then maybe we can take questions. Thank you.